It all started a few months ago, honestly. My wife, Emily, and I had been together for about 8 years. We got married right out of college, and I always thought we had a pretty solid relationship. Sure, we had our fights, but nothing really out of the ordinary. Or so I thought. Our anniversary was coming up, and I'd been feeling a little off about her lately. Little things, you know. She'd be more distant, quick to dismiss my attempts to talk about anything serious, and she seemed to be spending more time on her phone than usual. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but I could feel something was wrong. Still, I kept telling myself, maybe I was just overthinking it. Maybe I was paranoid because of how busy I'd been at work lately. The day of our anniversary, I planned a small dinner at a nice restaurant. Nothing fancy, just the two of us. I wanted to make it special, even if I was feeling a little unsure. Emily seemed a little more bitchy than usual that day, snappy, dismissive, like she didn't even want to be there. I tried to brush it off, thinking maybe she was just stressed or tired. She kept lying about her plans earlier in the day, saying she was running errands and then claiming she forgot her phone at home. Classic Emily, always with some excuse to hide something. But I didn't think too much of it at the time. We get to the restaurant and she's cold and distant, barely making eye contact. I notice her phone keeps buzzing and she keeps silencing it quickly every time I glance her way. I was annoyed but decided I wouldn't push her. Still, I was already feeling the weight of some gut feeling I couldn't shake. Then during dinner, she starts acting even more bitchy, snapping at me for no reason, rolling her eyes when I try to make small talk. I remember thinking, what the hell is wrong with her? Why is she like this on what's supposed to be a special night? After dinner, we head back home. She heads to the bathroom while I sit in the living room, feeling more confused and irritated than ever. I couldn't help but glance at her phone, just a quick peek, out of curiosity. I'd always been pretty trusting, but lately, something about her behavior just felt off. When I opened her messages, I saw something that hit me like a punch in the gut. There were texts from her, and I swear they weren't just friendly. They were flirty, suggestive, talking about sex, about how much she enjoyed this guy's company. His name was Jake, a coworker I'd seen her talk to a few times, but I never thought much about it. What truly made my stomach turn was the way she described him, how she said she felt alive when she was with him, that she was tired of pretending with me. The texts weren't just innocent banter. They were full of longing and anticipation. I stared at the screen, heart pounding, trying to process what I was reading. I'd always thought I knew her, thought she was my partner, my best friend in this world. And there she was, cheating on me, lying to my face every step of the way. I couldn't believe I'd been blind. I'd missed all the signs, ignored the little things because I wanted to believe she loved me. But now, I felt like I'd been betrayed in the worst way possible, and the worst part was that I didn't even know how long this had been going on. Had she been cheating during our weekends away? In the nights I thought she was asleep? Had she been lying for months? Every question just kept swirling in my mind, making me feel sick. I was furious, heartbroken, and just numb all at once. I closed her phone slowly, not knowing what to do next. After I finished reading those messages, I sat there for a long moment, trying to breathe through the shock. My mind was racing, trying to piece together how long she'd been lying to me, how many nights she might have been with Jake instead of me. The anger started bubbling up, hot and uncontrollable, but underneath it all was a deep, aching pain that I couldn't just brush aside. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. For years, I thought we were happy, that we truly loved each other. I had shared everything with Emily, my hopes, my fears, my stupid little dreams. And for her to do this, to betray me like this, it felt like the ground had shifted beneath my feet. I didn't even know who she was anymore. The woman I married, the woman I trusted with my life, was out there, sneaking around, lying, cheating. All the while I was sitting there thinking everything was fine. The next thing I did was confront her, but I didn't want to do it immediately. I needed a plan, a way to catch her in the act if I could. I decided I'd play it cool for a bit, act like I didn't know. So I went to bed that night, pretending everything was normal. She came into the bedroom and the bitchy attitude was still there. She was cold, dismissive, like I was some kind of nuisance. I stayed silent, but inside I was already making mental notes, plotting my next move. Over the next few days, I watched her. She started acting even more strange, taking her phone everywhere, hiding it whenever I came close, canceling plans at the last minute and lying about her whereabouts. I never once caught her outright, but I had enough clues. I found receipts for hotel bookings she'd made under a fake name, a new number she'd saved in her contacts, and the worst, she'd deleted messages from her phone. I also noticed her looking at her phone more and more and her quick, nervous glances whenever I got close. It was obvious she was hiding something, and I knew I had to catch her red-handed. One night I decided to set a trap. I left her phone on the kitchen table, loaded with my own little tracking app just in case. I knew she'd try to delete or hide stuff again, but I was prepared for that. I stayed up late, pretending to be asleep, watching her. Around midnight, she slipped out of bed quietly, grabbed her phone, and tiptoed into the living room. I followed at a distance, pretending to be asleep, but I kept my eye on her. That's when I saw her slide her finger across the screen, opening a message thread from Jake. I froze. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst. I saw her typing a message, and my stomach clenched when I read the words, "Can't wait to see you tonight. It's been too long." She was planning to meet him. I couldn't believe it. All the nights I'd wondered if she was just busy or tired, she was out there with her legs wrapped around some guy while I was at home, clueless. I felt my blood boiling. I wanted to burst out, yell, call her out right then and there. But I knew I had to stay calm, get evidence, and decide what to do. I quickly grabbed my phone and snapped a few pictures of her screen, making sure I had proof. As she finished her message and started to put her phone away, I stepped into the room, acting like I'd just woken up. She spun around, her face a mask of surprise and anger. "What are you doing?" She snapped, voice trembling slightly. I looked her right in the eyes and said, "I think you're cheating on me, Emily. I've seen enough. I know about Jake. How long has this been going on?" Her face twisted into a bitchy sneer. "You're crazy. You're imagining things. I don't know what you're talking about." But her hands were shaking and her eyes darted away for a second before she composed herself. That's when I knew I had her. I could see her trying to lie her way out of it, but the proof was right there. I felt a mix of relief and fury building up inside me. That night everything changed. I wasn't going to pretend anymore. I wasn't going to buy her lies. I was done being blind. The woman I thought I knew was just a facade, and now I saw the truth. I knew I had to decide whether I was going to forgive her or walk away. But one thing was clear. I wasn't going to let her keep hurting me without consequences. The confrontation that night was like something out of a nightmare. Emily, still trying to act like she's the victim, started flipping her shit the moment I told her I'd seen enough. Her voice got all bitchy and defensive, swinging between denial and anger. She threw out those typical gaslighting lines. "You're overreacting. I don't know what you're talking about. You're paranoid," as if I was just imagining things. But I had the proof. The screenshots, the hotel receipts, the deleted messages, everything pointed to one clear truth. Her reaction was infuriating. She called me jealous, insecure, crazy. She said I was accusing her of something she didn't do, even though I had cold, hard evidence. And that's when her real personality started to show. Emily's true colors came out, and I saw how manipulative and bitchy she really is. She started to belittle me, saying I was insecure for even suspecting she'd cheat, like I was the one at fault. She kept denying everything, insisting she loved me and that I was just being paranoid because I didn't trust her. But I wasn't having it. I told her I wasn't going to be played for a fool anymore. I told her I wanted to know the truth, how long she'd been lying, how many times she'd been with Jake behind my back. Her face twisted into a sneer, and she looked at me like I was some kind of idiot. "It's none of your damn business," she spat. "You're just jealous because I'm better than you at sex, and Jake makes me feel alive." That comment hit me like a punch in the stomach. I couldn't believe she was that shameless, that she was so willing to throw everything we had away just to get some guy's attention. I felt a mix of disgust and rage. How could she be so selfish, so contemptuous? I realized then that there was no way she was going to admit the truth willingly. I had to decide what to do next. I told her if she was done lying, then she could pack her bags and go. I wasn't going to be with someone who lied, cheated, and disrespected me like that. She just sneered, looked me dead in the eyes, and said I was a fool. That night, I stayed awake long after she stormed out of the room, my mind racing over everything. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, just replayed the betrayal over and over again. I kept asking myself, how long has she been cheating? Was it only during the last few months, or was it the entire time we were together? The worst part was the feeling that I'd never really known her at all. All those years I thought she was my partner, my confidant. Was she just pretending? Or had she been lying from the start? I kept thinking about all the little moments I missed, the signs I ignored, because I wanted to believe she loved me. And now I realize how utterly blind I was. The woman I married, the woman I trusted, turned out to be someone I barely recognize. In the days that followed, I kept my distance. I couldn't even look at her without feeling a wave of disgust. I felt betrayed, angry, and painfully sad. I wondered how she could be so cold and manipulative, so willing to lie and cheat behind my back. But underneath all that anger, there was also a sense of clarity. I knew I couldn't stay with her anymore. Not after this. I had to choose whether to fight for what we had or walk away for good. The hardest part was realizing how much I'd invested, my time, my love, my trust, and how she threw it all away for a quick fuck with Jake. It made me question everything about our relationship, about what I thought was real. And honestly, I felt like I'd been foolish for so long, for ignoring the signs, for convincing myself I was enough. Now, the only thing I knew for sure was that I couldn't keep pretending she wasn't a total bitch and a liar. I had to decide whether I was going to fight for my dignity, or just accept that I was better off without her. The decision to confront her again was inevitable, but this time, I knew exactly what I wanted to say. I couldn't keep pretending I was okay with her lying, cheating, and treating me like I was some idiot. I needed closure, even if it hurt more than I expected. So I called her into the living room, her eyes already narrowed and her attitude bitchy as hell. She walked in and immediately started with the usual bullshit. You're overreacting. This is all a misunderstanding. You're just jealous because I'm better at sex. I cut her off right away. I told her I'd seen enough and I didn't want to hear her lies anymore. I told her I knew she'd been cheating on me with Jake for months, that I'd found the proof, and I wasn't going to let her manipulate me into thinking I was crazy. Her face twisted into a sneer and she crossed her arms. Oh, so now you're some kind of detective. You think you're so clever, huh? Just because you found a few texts doesn't mean anything. Maybe I was just talking to him as a friend, or maybe you're imagining things. You're so insecure. That's why I never told you. You're boring and predictable. I was furious. I told her she was full of shit, that the only thing she was good at was lying and cheating. I told her she thought she was so clever hiding her affair behind my back, but I saw her for what she really was, a bitch who thinks she can get away with anything. I told her I was done being her fool, done being her backup for her little secret life. I told her I wanted her out of my house and out of my life. She scoffed and rolled her eyes, acting like I was the one making a big deal out of nothing. You're just jealous because I don't want to be with you anymore. I deserve better. Jake is so much better in bed and he actually cares about me. Not like you, boring, predictable, a total loser. That was the moment I realized her true nature. She was just a bitch, spoiled, manipulative, and utterly selfish. She wanted to twist everything around, make me feel like I was the one at fault for her cheating. But I wasn't falling for that anymore. I told her she could leave, pack her shit, and never come back. I wasn't going to be her punching bag or her fool anymore. Watching her walk out the door, I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. Part of me was angry, part of me was devastated. How did I get here? How did I let someone like her manipulate me for so long? But I also knew that I couldn't keep living in this lie. I deserved more, and I deserved better than someone who would lie, cheat, and treat me like dirt behind my back. The following days were brutal. I felt like I was walking around in a fog, trying to process everything. I kept asking myself if I should try to salvage the marriage, if I was overreacting, or if I was right to walk away. But deep down, I knew the answer. I couldn't trust her anymore, not after what I'd found. Every time I thought about what she did, her sneaky texts, her lies, her betrayal, it made my stomach churn. I felt like I'd been living a lie for years, and now everything was falling apart. In those quiet moments, I started to reflect on what I'd learned. Never ignore the small signs. Never dismiss your gut feelings. And most importantly, don't stay with someone who makes you feel like you're second best or worse. I was blind for so long, but now I see clearly. She was never really the person I thought she was. And honestly, I don't think I want her to be anymore. I deserve someone who respects me, who values honesty, and who doesn't treat me like an afterthought. The days following her departure have been a whirlwind of emotions. I find myself waking up in the mornings with a heaviness I can't shake, a constant reminder of what I lost, and what I now realize I never truly had. The house feels emptier than it ever has before. Every corner, every piece of furniture seems to echo with memories of her. Her bitchy comments, her lies, her sneaky ways. It's like living in a shell of what was supposed to be a life built on trust and love. I keep replaying everything, trying to understand how I missed the signs for so long, how I ignored her coldness, her dismissiveness, her constant lying. I told myself she was just stressed, busy, or tired. I convinced myself she loved me because I wanted to believe that. But now, looking back, I see the subtle cracks that I was too blind or too scared to notice. The late-night texts, the disappearing acts, her dismissive attitude, all packed under the guise of she's just busy. Lies, every single one. Some days I feel incredibly angry. Angry at her for cheating, for lying, for treating me like I was nothing. Angry at myself for not seeing it sooner. And I get hit with waves of sadness, questioning if I ever really knew her, or if I was just fooling myself into thinking I did. The trust I once had is shattered like glass on the floor. I keep asking, why did she do this? How could someone I loved so much be so callous and selfish? It's a brutal kind of heartbreak that cuts deep. But amid the anger and sadness, there's also a strange sense of liberation. I realize I don't have to keep pretending anymore. I don't have to carry this weight of betrayal on my shoulders. For the first time in a long while, I feel a little hope that I can rebuild my life, even if it's just solo for now. I know I need time to heal, to process, and to figure out what comes next, but I also know that I won't stay stuck in this pain forever. One thing I've learned is the importance of boundaries. I've started blocking her on everything, her number, social media, even her email. I don't want to see her face, hear her voice, or be reminded of her betrayal every time I turn around. It's painful, but I have to protect myself. I've all started leaning on friends and family, those who have been there for me, listening to my rants and offering support. Without them, I don't think I'd have the strength to keep going. Honestly, I feel a mix of relief and regret. Relief that I finally saw her for what she is and that I'm free of her manipulations. Regret that I ever let it get this far, that I gave so much of myself to someone who didn't deserve it. But I also realize now that it's not about blaming myself. It's about learning and growing from this experience. I've been naive, yes, but I can choose to be stronger moving forward. So what's next? Honestly, I have no clue. I might take some time to be alone, work on myself, and rebuild my sense of self. Maybe date again someday, but right now I just need to breathe to heal. I want to find someone who respects me, who's honest and kind, not someone who lies and cheats behind my back. I don't want to live in a world where I'm constantly looking over my shoulder or doubting those I love. What I do know is this: trust is fragile. I won't let anyone take advantage of me like that again. I'll be more cautious, more aware. And I'll never ignore the small signs that something's wrong. Because I learned the hard way. Betrayal doesn't just hurt, it shatters everything you thought was real. And sometimes the only way to move forward is to cut the toxic out of your life completely. Looking back, I realize that this whole experience has changed me, maybe forever. I used to trust blindly, believing that love and honesty were enough to carry us through anything. Now I see that trust is fragile, and betrayal can come from the most unexpected places. I don't hate Emily, at least not anymore. I just see her for what she truly was, a manipulative, selfish bitch who thought she could get away with everything. I've learned that sometimes people aren't who they seem. They put on masks, tell lies, and hide their true nature until it's too late. And that's a hard lesson. But it's also a necessary one. Because now I know not to ignore the small signs, not to dismiss my instincts, and not to settle for anything less than honesty and respect. I've started to rebuild my life from the ground up. It's slow, And some days are worse than others, but I'm getting there. I've cut out the toxic, the lies, the betrayal. I've surrounded myself with people who genuinely care, who remind me that I deserve better. And I've realized that I don't want someone who treats me like an afterthought, who lies and cheats and dismisses me like I'm nothing. This whole ordeal has made me more cautious, but also more aware of what I need and what I won't accept anymore. I refuse to be someone's fool or their backup plan. I value honesty, integrity, and someone who respects me enough to be faithful. That's what I want now, something real, something meaningful. And honestly, I think I'll find it because I've finally learned to see through the bullshit. To anyone reading this who's going through something similar, I'll just say this: trust your instincts. Don't ignore the signs. And if someone betrays you, if they lie, cheat, or treat you like shit, don't be afraid to walk away. You deserve someone who values you, who would never make you feel like less. Love isn't about sacrifice when it's one-sided. It's about mutual respect, honesty, and loyalty. So I'm done with her and I'm done with the betrayal. It hurts like hell, but it's also a wake-up call. I may have lost someone I thought was my everything, but I've gained clarity. And that, in the end, is worth more than any fake love or hollow promises. I've got a future ahead of me, and I'm finally ready to face it without looking back.